Hi guys, I'm going to go over how to make your head shape for our ceramic head sculptures. And what you'll need to do, if you are in cohort C, I gave you a little bit of extra clay, so you're gonna wanna split the block in half first, and then take one of those halves and split that into two smaller pieces. And we're gonna start with the two smaller pieces. If you are in cohort A or B and you've been sent home to work on your head shape, all you have to do is split the piece of clay I gave you into two pieces. So starting off, your first thing you're gonna do with one half, and you want them to be fairly equal because they're gonna make two halves of the head, is to kind of roll it in a ball. So smash it a little bit, not flat, but into a ball shape. Roll it on your table until you get a nice round head shape. Well, a ball shape, I should say. It's very, very important that when you are doing this, that you're following the directions exactly. You're not slamming the clay and pressing it into pancakes and playing around with it, because as you can see, it starts to dry out very quickly. You'll find it very drying on your hands as well. So you want to try and do it right the first time. So I'm going to start with my first ball, and what you're going to want to do is we're going to make a pinch pot with it. So I'm going to take my thumb, holding it in my other hand. I'm going to press my thumb pretty far into it, not through the bottom, but pretty far in. And then to make a pinch pot, we're gonna do this in our hands, not on the table. So you're gonna take your hand with all your fingers together, thumb inside, and you're going to squeeze the outside of the pot and turn it while you're supporting it with your other hand. So we're gonna go ahead and keep doing this until we get a nice, even pinch pot shape. Now, this is where it gets really important. You don't want to be pinching down here and making paper thin walls. You're pinching the whole shape even as much as you can. I'm going to keep going a little bit until it's maybe about as thick as my pinky. I'll show you what I mean in a second, but you don't want to go too thin or it'll be really hard to work with. You don't want to make it too thick and clumpy because then you're not using all your clay. So it should be about as thick on the walls as it is on the bottom. So if you feel there's more clay at the bottom here, just go ahead and press and pinch at that part as well. And when I say bottom, I mean the rounded part. It should be a half of like an egg shape. So here we go. My walls look pretty even throughout. This is a pretty good pinch pot for number one. You're gonna do this 2 times. You're gonna do the same exact procedure with the other half of the clay, and then I'm gonna show you how to put these together. So now I have my 2 pinch pots. They are fairly close in size and shape. That is your goal with making both of them. And what we have to do now is put them together to form your egg that's gonna be hollow inside. So this is the very tricky part that you wanna be very careful with, that you don't collapse your egg. So what you're gonna do is just kind of line up the shapes to start. And I'm just kind of pressing it a little wee bit together to flatten it out. Okay, next, you're gonna hold it in one hand, and with your other hand, we're gonna close this seam. If I push too hard, I'm going to make it look like a bowling pin. It's not gonna work. What I'm actually going to do is just grab bits of this clay, and while this is held together, and I'm going to very, very gently push the clay back and forth over the seam. It will start to it'll want to go in on you a little bit, but you want to try and to not let it go too far in. So I'm going to turn it. I'm holding it in one hand. I'm never putting it down on the table because that'll give you flat areas. Sometimes the parts that are bigger are the easier ones to overlap. So look for, one of your pinch pots that might be a little bigger on one side. Use that part to overlap, but I kind of just work back and forth. And I'm gonna go through this process, close my seam. Again, I work pretty quickly because I've done this a lot, but for you guys, again, I'm kind of grabbing little bits of the clay like I'm spreading butter across a piece of toast without breaking my toast or smashing my toast. So you have to learn the feel for this. I'm almost done closing it up. And once it's completely sealed, it's a little bit less fragile. So now I can kind of just tap it into a head type shape that I want. If I want it to be more round, I can hit the bottom, the top, and that air bubble can move around a little bit in there. So I'm gonna keep working on this. What I wanna do is get rid of all the like rough spots. I'm using my finger as a tool. I didn't use anything else. Your fingers really are your best tools when it comes to clay. Just kind of shape, get rid of the cracks, move in different directions. Your goal with this part is to make it look like just a big rock of clay that you didn't put two shapes together. And what's going to happen is we can't put clay in the kiln this way. I'm actually going to cut open the head, or if you're a cohort C, I will show you how to slice your head shape open so that you can use this as a kind of a covered jar in the future. So I will go ahead and clean that up, and then we'll move on to step 3 once I get this looking the way that I want.